In the previous video, we saw how we could add some margin to the top of the H1 in order to move that H1 text down out of the way. So now we have 500 extra pixels of margin at the top. If I right-click and inspect, so I can get it open in the Chrome inspector, if I mouse over that H1, you can see the huge margin that's now up top. So it doesn't, in this case, it didn't really matter if we chose margin top or padding top because there's nothing above it. There's no other text. There's no background image on this actual text. So but to the human eye, nobody would be able to tell unless you're in the inspector whether you chose margin or padding. So to show you this, if I go over to the right-hand side and just change this from margin top to padding top, again, this is only temporary in the browser, but just to show you, it looks the same, right? It's still 500 pixels of space, so it looks the same, but if I mouse over it, now it's green because I chose padding. So orange is margin, green is padding. However, it doesn't really have any effect. You could choose either one in this case. Sometimes you can't choose either one. So in the next example, we're going to put a background image on these H3 tags, and then you can really see start to understand more of a difference between margin and padding and when you would be able to need to use padding specifically. So I'm going to start this section by putting the background image on the H3 the same way that we just did, and I will split out the properties individually again, just like I did before. Let's find that image. Fortunately, they're named well. Here they are, and let's see what it looks like this. If I refresh, save and refresh. So that's a little bit too much background image. I was kind of hoping for maybe one of them, not so many of them. So I better control the repeat. Save and refresh. That's a bit better, but you know, tough. It's tough. It's right in this picture is right in the middle of that text. So onward to background dash position. So remember that the default position of this background image is left top. So if I want to move this background image to the bottom, then I better affect the position. Let's take a quick look in the inspector to see where we're at. Scroll one into view. Here's my H3. There's some default margin on it. Its background image is right there at the left top, and it's filling up as much as it needs to fill. Let's see if we can get that into the bottom. Let's keep it at the left for now. We'll put it at the bottom. Okay, save and refresh. That's a bit better. You know, it is better, but the text is still on top of it. So I'd like to move the text up a little bit. Well, what happens if I increase the margin is that orange area will change on the bottom if I increase the bottom margin. That's not going to help us because the background image is not on the margin, right? It's inside on the element itself. So the only possibility here is padding. If I want to try it over here, just so we can see it in a little bit quicker, padding bottom. And then in this case, I probably would use pixels because I know how big the background image is. I can eyeball it here and say, I'm probably going to need 5 more pixels of space at the bottom. If you make a mistake, it's no big deal. That's better. Maybe even a little bit more. 8. Okay, now it's getting to be the place where I like it. So if I can say padding bottom of 8 pixels, okay, does it look good on the rest of them? Yeah, that's a big improvement. So in this case, I have to use padding. If I mouse over the area that I just edited, you can see that green padding now. Now that green padding is taking up the height of the background image so that the text appears above it. So I'm just using margin, and I used the margin before, and now I'm using padding to shove the text around so that it plays well with the image. I think I'll make this just change permanent by putting it into my source code. Padding bottom, 8px, and this is move the text up off the image. Save and refresh. We'll do a couple more. We'll do the leaves in the next video. and then talk about some other issues.